Welcome to The Short Game, a podcast where we review games you can complete in a weekend, a day, or a couple hours. And today we're going to be talking about Apple Design Awards. I'm Laura Nash, and with me I have Shane Kelly. How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Excellent. And I also have Nate Heilinger. What's up?
Not much. I'm been playing a lot of iPhone games for the past 48 hours, and pretty excited to talk about them.
We definitely do our homework way in advance for this recording, guys.
Well, I mean, for what it's worth, this might be one of the most timely podcasts we've ever done. These were announced last week, and
yeah, it's going to be pretty cool. I think this is a great little tradition for us. We did the same thing last year, and so I knew to watch. I'm always going to watch the keynote. Were you guys watching the keynote?
I was at work. I was trying to watch the keynote. I was caught watching the keynote. I was told to stop watching the keynote. So
I watched almost the whole thing. And fortunately, I was happy to see one game that I've played an unfortunately large amount of show up on the list, which was Crossy Road. And I know we're going to go into the games individually here in a minute, but of all the games that have been nominated, I've probably played more Crossy Road than all of them combined. So I'm at least prepared to talk about that damn infuriating, fantastic game.
And Shane's pretty much a does not commute expert. Yes.
Oh, I'm loving that game. Yeah, it's a terrific game.
Yeah.
Also on the list is Shadowmatic, Vainglory, and two student winners, which are Jumpo and Endless Minute.
Yeah, and I think we probably will have some other iPhone-related games that we'll want to throw into the mix to discuss, what with it being E3 and all.
What? And anything about E3 you guys are, jumping at the bait to talk about before we get into these in detail?
Well, that was even more recent than WWDC and all that. 2 days,
a big week.
2 or 3 days ago. I have been playing the Fallout Shelter game.
I was going to ask about that. I want to know about it.
So I'm pretty excited about it. It's like kind of a resource management, worker placement type game. Not generally Bethesda's kind of thing, Very few similarities between any of the games that we're used to playing from Bethesda, except for that it's Fallout themed, which is enough for me. But it's really well designed. They made a point of saying in the keynote that it's free and does not require online access, which I definitely appreciate. There are in-app purchases, but it is not something, and I can say this after having played maybe 4 hours or so, it is definitely the right type of in-app purchases where, hey, if you want to, you can buy these things. It might make the game a little bit easier for you, but you by no means need to. And I definitely appreciate that. I've played long enough into it now where in most games, if in-app purchases were going to be a necessity, I would have hit that mark at this point. Mm-hmm. And there was one time where I was like, man, I should buy that because then I won't be stressed about this game. But then I was like, that's stupid because the whole point of this game is that it's like resource management and it's kind of hard. Maybe I just am not good at it yet, but I've definitely had some vault dwellers die to some rad roaches and some fires. And it's pretty cool. I definitely, if you're into that type of thing, I should remember his name, but the head guy of Bethesda Game Studios name dropped FTL when he was talking about the inspirations for the game. And as you guys know,
that's a good sign.
Started twitching.
Yeah, you're like, FTL.
I started twitching and started. I had to
frothing
chase,
at the mouth.
Yeah, I had
and
to
then
chase. I had to chase the dragon. So this has been good. I will say that I wish I had an iPad. Because on iPhone, it's definitely good, but there is some very specific points on the screen that you have to kind of touch and drag, and a few times it's felt a little small.
Just do what I did: file down your thumbs.
Ooh, that's a good call.
Oh, good tip.
Yeah,
hot tip.
I'm gonna remove my thumb and jam a stylus into the socket and just use that instead.
Perfect.
But all my other E3 excitement has basically come from all things Fallout related, so which is the opposite of the short game.
I know. It's Fallout, just as Reagan kind of has vanished from the... By the way, that's, I think, not a coincidence. Reagan is not on the show because The Witcher came out.
Yeah. Yeah, he's going to tell you...
He says because he's moved, but we all know it's because he's playing Witcher 3.
Yeah. See you later, Geralt. Enjoy another round of Gwent on us, all right? But it's I think around the time Fallout comes out, we better just cancel the show.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, guys.
Well, I'm really concerned because Fallout comes out on November 10th, and the Star Wars Battlefront game, which I know has some negative press around it, but still something that I'm excited about, comes out on November 17th, and that is in the same week 2 games that I have been hyped about for a very, very long time. And I think I'm going to have to quit my job, quit my podcasts, quit everything, and just play Fallout and Battlefront back to back.
Maybe you and I will just splinter off and start a Fallout-centric podcast.
Hey, there you go.
Excluding everyone else.
And then I will just be trying to get Reagan to still stop playing Witcher.
Yeah.
Not going to happen.
Welcome to the short game. It's just me, Laura.
Hey, it's Laura. I played some games this week. What's up?
Yeah.
But that never. I'll never let that happen.
Thank you.
So we came on the show today to talk Apple Design Awards, and we quickly veered into
E3.
the green fields of E3.
Well, that's what most gaming blogs and game media did this week anyway.
Yeah, absolutely.
We try not to be like a news podcast because you can find the sources for this stuff everywhere. But it's hard not to talk about it a little bit because I don't know. This has been a pretty killer couple days for video games, especially like new tech. I'm not a Xbox One owner, and I have never really wanted to. But this recent Microsoft showcase has made me pretty intrigued at some of the stuff that they've unveiled with the ability to download mods on your plate or on your computer, and they automatically go to your Xbox or something like that, which I think is a huge win for them, trying to get the modding community into the console game. That's pretty awesome.
While we're talking about games that didn't win an Apple Design Award, any snubs we want to call out?
Oh, heck yes. I actually tweeted at Ryan Cash, one of the guys that made Alto's Adventure.
And just to rub it in more. Like,
no, I just told him that I felt like he'd been robbed, and he said, maybe next year. And I said, well, actually, that's cool, because maybe that means they have a game coming out. But I know obviously they've got to be working on something new. But I think Alto, if I have to guess like why it didn't win an ADA, it's kind of because, last year Monument Valley won, and I thought they had a very similar visual style, but even more so, I think maybe it was because this year they really wanted to focus on stuff that used that Metal API, so they were really heavily targeting stuff that showcases the 3D that the iPhone can do, which is getting surprisingly good. Really surprisingly good.
We'll kind of talk about Vainglory, which I know we played the least out of, but I did play it a little bit in preparation for this, and it's pretty cool.
Awesome.
They definitely went with like specific things to point to. They usually try to, but with this one, like with Crossy Road, the use of in-app purchases, they make a big point of how they appreciated that, because I was really surprised to see Crossy Road show up on this, and a game like Alto's Adventure not show. We did like an entire episode on how awesome Alto is, and in that episode, we were also like, oh yeah, Crossy Road is fun too. And then it's Crossy that wins the award.
To me, it makes perfect sense, because when I think about what Apple likes to reward, it's whatever they've had as their new feature or something that's native to iOS. So multi-touch used to be a big thing. Tilt controls was a huge thing. Any game that takes advantage of the hardware. And freemium's kind of their biggest trend right now. Yeah. So praising good freemium.
All the winners this year have Crossy Road, Shadowmatic, Vainglory, and Does Not Commute, all 3D games.
Mm-hmm. And almost all freemium, too.
Yeah. Shadowmatic, I think, is just a straight-up cost. But I think it's important to note that what we're saying here is that these aren't what Apple considered to be the best games of the year. These are the games that like best showcased a certain thing that Apple's trying to accomplish. Because I think if it was just like best games of the year, Alto probably would have been on that list, because it's a better game than Crossy Road. But Crossy,
and it's on their beautiful games list.
Yeah, exactly. So why don't we dive into the games? Let's just
heck yes.
Let's just get going.
What's first?
So first on the list is Shadowmatic by Triada Studio, and it's this game. It's hard to describe, but I'll try. You are rotating these weird-looking things with multi-touch, and the goal is to create a shadow on the wall. There's a bright light shown on it, and it casts this shadow. and you're trying to spin the objects so that they create a recognizable shape.
Yeah, it'll be like an amorphous blob that's kind of in the right side of the screen with a bright light shown on it with a screen kind of in the back left, and that blob is completely undiscernible of anything. Like it doesn't look like anything, but if tilted at the exact right direction, it'll be like a bunny or like a Cupid shooting an arrow, or I mean, there's like 80 different levels, so it's a ton of different stuff. And they kind of complicate it by bringing in now there's 2 items that cast individual shadows, and you have to rotate them to be the perfect angle and combine the 2. Like the one that comes to mind is a chess piece, where you have to spin the top to be the top part of, I guess it's like a bishop. It was actually kind of hard. Maybe it's a pawn. I don't know.
It's a pawn.
Yeah, I guess it's a pawn.
Yeah.
And you have to rotate the 2
This
pieces.
Is not
to
a
make
chess
the pawn.
pawn. Yes.
Well,
okay.
I love chess, but I guess I don't know. It's a very ornate pawn. Anyway.
I mean, tonally, it reminds me a little of, what was it, Zen Garden, the one with the rock that you're rotating string around?
Zenbound.
Zenbound.
Yeah. Which did that one win an ADA? I can't remember. I think it might have.
I don't know if they were around then, but it was definitely on all the Apple devices at the store.
Yeah.
Just because it's kind of relaxing, you're spinning stuff, you're trying to get in, there's chimes involved.
Yeah, the thing that impressed me the most about this game was, I mean, it's a pretty game and it's a Zen game, but it's the way that they used these really clear, really nice, really smooth 3D graphics, and they also used it with the tilt controls of the device. So you're not controlling the game with the tilt, but they use the kind of parallax effect in conjunction with kind of the tilt of the device, so that as you twist and turn your device, it's like you're looking through a window at different angles at what you're manipulating. So it really gives you this 3D feel in addition to kind of the 3D graphics. And they did just a tremendous job with that. You really do kind of feel like you're looking through a window at these, weird twisty objects and reaching out and grabbing them.
I mean, they have weight, which is funny to say because everything's floating, but they have substance. And, Apple said that they won basically because it combines multi-touch and the metal graphic engine. So it won for its look and the manipulation of objects. It's a game I can't really see on any other platform, to be honest.
No, I don't think it would be fun unless you are actually like using a mouse or something to like click and drag. It wouldn't be very fun. Maybe like a PlayStation or Xbox controller with the dual joysticks might be kind of interesting, but still not as satisfying as actually kind of that tactile feel of spinning and twisting it.
You'd lose the different angles that you get from moving the device too. So I honestly think this is among the games here, like most of the games on this list could easily be ported to other platforms. At the very least, they could easily be ported to like Android or something like that. Mm-hmm. This one, I think, because it is clearly like really hooked in to the Metal API, and also just the fragmentation on Android where you can't be sure how much graphics ability you'll have. I think this is a game that is probably going to be an iPhone or iPad only game.
Yeah. I also just really appreciated the design of the objects. Like when you look at them, they're beautiful. They're often multi-textured, crazy different colors, and they don't look like anything at all what you're actually going to be casting a shadow of until you get it at just that right angle. And you kind of see like one early one that kind of springs to mind is you see like two kind of, they almost look like hands sticking out that are making kind of a, I don't know, like an arch, but they're separate. There's one pointing one way and one pointing another way. But once you start spinning it with the light, you see that, they might actually, if you have them touching each other, the shadows touching each other, it becomes the handle of a teapot. But those two arms are nowhere near each other on the blob. But once you have it angled just right, you kind of slowly get an idea of like, is that a frog? It kind of looks like a frog. And then you twist it just right and you're like, yes, it is a frog. Or you're like, no, that is not a frog at all.
That is definitely not a frog.
That's definitely not a frog.
I love when you're spinning and you you realize that there's been some subtle hints along the way. There is a hint system where they use chimes and lights to tell you when you're on the right track. But there's also sometimes the textures or the colors relate to the objects. Occasionally, like a gecko
or the room that they're in.
Exactly, the room you're in. And you don't realize it until these context clues, until you're latching onto the right shape. And I will ding it a little bit. It's kind of fiddly, especially when you get to 2 or 3 pieces. You can recognize the shape, but I had a lot of time locking in, where I was like, this is clearly this object. This game is also really easy to spoil, because if you know what the object is, the puzzle becomes a lot less fun.
Yeah, I had that problem with the horse. Trying to make that horse make the legs line up. I was like, I know this is a horse. This is a horse. Of course, this is a horse. And I just could not get the legs lined up perfectly, and it was a little frustrating. But
you're just spinning the horse around like, this is clearly a horse, guys.
Yeah, come on. Trigger. Come on.
You mentioned, Laura, how they can kind of hint at things, but they also, one of my favorite things is that they kind of use that to throw you off sometimes too. Like there's this level where it's a monkey, but the object is textured with like frog skin.
Right, I remember
and
that
so
level.
I was trying to make a frog out of this thing the whole time because I thought they were cluing me in. But once you get it together, it's actually it's a monkey. And there's other times where like you might not exactly guess it. Like there's one where it's like the room has a little ship's wheel hanging on the wall, and the solution is it's an anchor. But I didn't make that connection until after I actually had made the anchor. And I was like, oh, well, we're in a ship or something, I guess.
I mean, I loved that stuff because it's a game that trains you to look at the shadow, but you start realizing that if you look at the object, if you look at the wall, there's a lot more story to be told. And it's rare that puzzle games like this, give 2 shakes about what's actually happening in the background. Usually all the attention is on the solution part of the puzzle. It's rare that you see someone who really cares about the atmosphere around the puzzle.
Yeah, and I think that just points to it winning a design award. Making sure everything is thought about and looks nice and is a part of the total package.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to stick around with this one just because I have the worst spatial reasoning on the planet. Maybe I should keep playing it because I have problems rotating objects in my head.
Good way to practice.
Yes.
For those real-world situations where you're trying to build a shadow out of a weird squiggle.
Yeah, there's a lot of puzzles, and I've played a lot of them, but I also just keep going to check my vault dwellers on my Fallout shelter. So, I got priorities here. But
I do love the vault dwellers on the. I think that's the number one game mechanic I see on iOS is like managing resources. And it is fun to play a game that's not that.
Yeah, none of these games really have notification hooks. The game doesn't continue when you're not playing it, which I think it's interesting to me because it's definitely a huge trend as someone who played too much Nimblebits. They didn't deserve my love. These games do, but they don't annoy me to play them as often.
Yeah, this game is like all of them for the past 2 years we've done it. Like, I pretty much opened it, started playing it, and it's like, okay, I see why this won design awards. It's like really quickly. Like, this is a well put together game. I won't say this is necessarily the most fun game of them all,
but it's beautiful.
So,
well, you said earlier that the next one on our list, Crossy Road, you didn't know, you were surprised to see on the list. For me, I was like, oh, no brainer. Crossy Road made $10 million, and it isn't annoying freemium, and it's gorgeous and fun and polished. And everyone kept saying, this is such a polished game.
Yeah.
So it makes sense to me that it won.
I guess I say
Let's,
because...
shall we pause for a moment to compare high scores?
Ooh.
Oh, not very high.
How many Crossies have you roaded?
And the only
I don't play that much.
I'm going to look it up, but the only reason I say that I was surprised is because I don't think I really appreciated, like, the scale at which this game was popular. Like, I know a lot of people were playing it, but I kind of lumped it into like Flappy Bird territory. And I know that it's not that, but I just kind of assumed everyone thought it was kind of a silly little game, and I just kept playing it. But to hear that like 10 million people are playing, or $10 million, that makes more sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, I don't play very often. I have only a lowly 78. It looks like Reagan's at 120 and you're at
only 42.
Julia Pike is at 148 on mine.
Oh, wait.
Is that you?
No way.
Yeah.
So my game center gets confused with my wife's. Maybe I finally straightened that problem out and it wiped my score.
It might have, because according to my game center, your wife is kicking all of our asses.
Oh, she doesn't play that much Crossy Road. I'll have to ask. It could well be her.
I've not said my score yet. I would like for everyone to listen to my score, which is 155. So I will go ahead.
Congratulations.
I will go ahead and claim short game Crossy Road champion. And if I remember correctly, I actually got really into this game because Reagan was leading all of us for a while. And I got really into this because he went so hard into Alto and crushed us all so hard at Alto. I decided to kind of go at him a different way and take as many of his other records away from him. So I played Crossy Road.
I'm totally behind this.
Yeah, I played Crossy Road exclusively to beat Reagan. And also Pancake. I have the high score in Pancake as well, purely as a quest to bring Reagan down a peg. And I feel pretty good about it, you know?
Let's snatch all his victories.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to get his Alto score because that is only a crazy person gets that kind of score. But
I've been going about this all wrong. I've been trying to beat his Alto score.
What's your guys' favorite? What do you play as?
In Crossy Road, I like to keep it on the shuffle just to get a different one every time.
Me too, actually.
I've unlocked a bunch. They keep adding them, though. They keep adding new little guys. And that's part of what made the game so effective. I guess that biggest thing that they rewarded about the game was its freemium model that they don't change the gameplay at all. You could feed no money in, or you could feed $1,000 in, and you only change how your little road crosser looks.
Yeah. I played as Shuffle when I was just kind of playing, but when I really was getting down to it and I wanted to get some good runs, I always played as the Duck for some reason. Just wah, wah. It was very satisfying.
I played as the Duck for a while. He's fun.
Have you guys bought anything in this game?
No.
I spent $1 on this game, and it was because there's a reference to another game that's one of my favorite iPhone games of all time, Forget Me Not. And I really wanted the Forget Me Not guy. Have you guys played Forget Me Not? Not to derail this, but
no.
If you haven't, you
not.
should. Forget Me Not is a kind of a maze-based retro Pac-Man-esque type game, and it's really phenomenal. It's really addictive once you get into it. It's a hard game, but it's a very rewarding one. I definitely recommend it.
Real quick before... we actually haven't said what Crossy Road is.
Let's wind it back to that. Laura, what is Crossy Road? What are these Crossy Roads?
Crossy Road's basically a modern version of Frogger. You hop. The hopping is wonderful, the bouncing animation. And it's this 8-bit style. It's on an angle isometric, so that you're moving up and, kind of diagonally northeast. I don't know why I didn't say up left. But it's really funny. There's great collisions when you get run over by cars. As you hop along, you pass your friends if you're good. You pass your friends' game center lines, and you approach their different scores. So it has a great challenge aspect. If you want to, you can unlock new characters. Some of them have powers. I never played with a character with powers.
Well,
the duck just quacks.
Does it actually have... So is powers the right word for it, or just like it alters the game world? Because I never really played any that gave me anything different than the ability to hop in one direction. Because I like, for example, if you played as like the Frankenstein, basically the world would go into grayscale and there would be like thunder and lightning, but it didn't really change the game. It was just grayscale. Or I don't know. They'd all have different like death animations. Like you can play as like the... what they call her, like celebrity girl, who when she gets hit by a car busts into a pile of money and things like that.
Yeah, I could say it's a new skin. It's better than a new skin, because it's not just like in Temple Run where you get a slightly different play style. The world changes, and sometimes all the collision animations change. They really give you what you pay for.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's really funny that it has kind of like a hyperactive like game show element to it as you get high scores. It's like ching 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 ching, free prize, free prize, free prize, and then you like hit a gumball machine that drops down a little capsule that opens up and gives you another little Crossy Road animal or whatever, and it's really satisfying to pull the little lever that gets you another character. I will say it got to the point that where it's like there was so many of them that I quit. Like all right, yep, what I get this time? Just give me. I need another run. Get out of my way.
I'm moving on with my life.
Yeah, I'm the
I
duck.
need to beat Reagan's score.
I'm a duck, man. All right, leave me alone. I don't need the pig, the cow, the other bird. I mean, there's a ton of them.
I've got like 4 colors of rabbit.
What is your favorite color of rabbit?
The pink bunny.
Of course.
Also known as the lovely bunny.
No.
Yeah. We talked about this game a little bit already in the Endless Runner episode. And I still pop it up every once in a while, just like do a Crossy Road run. You have to get in that like right mindset where you're paying attention, but you're not paying too much attention, and just like zone out and cross roads.
Just hopping and hopping.
I don't play this one too much, mostly because I am in a packed cattle car on the L, and I know that signals death for Crossy Road.
Definitely.
Well, it does have that kind of one-handed gameplay that I feel like is not like necessary for a great iPhone game, but it really does help. Like a lot of my favorite iPhone games can be played one-handed, and this is among them.
Definitely.
Yeah, and they had some interesting mechanics to keep you moving forward with it. If I haven't played Frogger for a while, but you can kind of just sit and wait for the right opportune moment, or you can move backwards as much as you need to. In this, if you move backwards too many spaces or wait in one spot too many times, an eagle will swoop down and carry you away, which counts as a death too. So you kind of have to just keep moving across highways, rivers with logs. I guess that's mostly or trains. There's trains, highways, and rivers, and then just
different cars,
then just land.
Trucks.
Yeah. It's a fun game.
It's simple enough to I don't think we need to belabor an explanation of this game, because I think by now we've probably described every part of it except for the 1,000 different characters that you can collect.
Let's go through all of them.
Reverse alphabetical there are 95 order. Of them at this point. And I don't know. My favorite for a long time was the robot, but then I got fed up with his weird grinding, like shaking a jar of pennies sound.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's definitely a rewarding game. It's got some things that are really weird, though. Like, first off, it's got this feature.
I think
not even great, not even good weird. There's some stuff that like doesn't really jive for me. One of them is the ability to record gameplay videos in it. Like, I don't get that. Like, it's a very strange feature, and it's implemented very strangely. Like, you're not even recording the video as a video that you might share on Twitter or something. You're recording a video and sharing it within this weird internal service built into Crossy Road. It's very odd. I never used it. I used it like one time. Either.
Yeah, the next one on our list, Does Not Commute, also includes video, but I liked that.
Yeah.
This one I never used the record video version.
The other weird thing, maybe it's just that I'm not the target for this, is part of the freemium thing where you can you can choose to watch an ad to get extra coins, which is a mechanic, or not mechanic. It's a method of monetizing a game that I'm not entirely cool with. I don't really like that. That's just me.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of it either. Fortunately,
at least it's a choice.
Yeah, exactly. Fortunately for this game, which it does really well, and part of why it won the award from Apple, is that there was literally no benefit to the game when purchasing anything. The game is the same. There's no speed difference between the characters. There's nothing different other than what the game world looks like and what the game world sounds like. So there's definitely incentive, if you really want this cool skin or whatever. It's there, and I'm sure that what did you say? It made like $10 million. There's plenty. There's plenty of like cosmetic,
incentive,
and there's plenty of incentive. sometimes if I've been really into a free game, I'll throw a couple dollars at it because I really loved the game and I want to support it, and I'll buy like a cool skin or whatever. I've definitely done that before. But the fact that I'm not required to, it's just the same game the whole time. Definitely appreciate it. And
I actually found it more fun to unlock them by playing than I would have to pay for it. So,
and which is, I think, a success for it, and that's what's cool. Like it's unlockables that aren't a necessity, but for whatever reason, it's fun to get them. You're like, oh, sure, I'll play as the pig and hear what silly little pig noises it makes. Or I'll play as the weird green alien that, like, randomly, while you're playing, a spaceship will come down and suck up a cow, just, like, in the middle of you playing. Just weird things
they're all
like
surprising and, like, really make a real difference in how the game looks and no difference at all in how the game works, which is really interesting.
Yeah, the good weird is stuff like you can play as an old man, grandpa. Like, that's what I meant by, I thought you were going to talk about good weird. That's the kind of good weird oddities that I love that they seed into the game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's talk about Does Not Commute. So, did anybody but me play this one?
This is my favorite of the group.
Oh, yeah.
Spoiler.
It's not the prettiest. It's not the one that made $10 million, but it is the game that I found like totally awesome in so many ways. So first off, it's a game about driving, and at its most basic, it's a very, very easy driving game. Tap the left side of the screen to turn left. Tap the right side of the screen to turn right. And you drive from point A to point B. They show you on the map, like, you need to get this car over to this spot. But what's really great is that it's not just one car after another. You're driving one car after another, but all the cars are running simultaneously. So in every level, it's going to be like 10 to 15 or more cars. And as these cars kind of traverse, you have to dodge all of your previous car runs. And the game places the cars and places the entrances and exits of the level in such a way that you're going to wind up with huge snarls of traffic, and you can't stop. There are no brakes, so you have to just swerve like mad and try and find crazy random ways around the other cars. And the cars all have different speeds. You can apply little different bonuses, so you can put a turbo on to make a car faster, or you can add some traction control to make a car handle a little better. And a lot of the game kind of boils down to using those mods and choosing the right path through the level. What's really fun is, like, by the time you get towards the end of the level, what was initially a very easy little drive has become really difficult because you're swerving back and forth and careening off other cars. If you run at all into any of the other cars, it drops your speed significantly. And you have to keep this high speed. You really have to keep this frantic high speed because the amount of time you take in the first level determines the amount of time you have in the second level, and so on and so forth. And there's, power-ups to add time, but the clock is always ticking down, like 1 second at a time. It's so fun and so frantic. I haven't even mentioned the kind of crazy, goofy story part of the game, which is hilarious.
So this game is only 2 months old. It's the most recent release, and somehow it was done by a two-person studio, Mediocre, which is nuts. But they also had some help with the story from a guy from Smogo who did Device 6. And
really? I did not know that. That's great.
Yeah, the writer for them wrote the story, and the story's so weird and awesome and cool.
Yeah, we talk about it's hard to imagine there's a deep story for a game where you're driving 10 to 15 different cars, but as you take control of each car, you're looking at like a top-down map of a little town, and it'll kind of freeze. It'll show you the route that the car needs to take, not the specific route, but you might be coming in from the bottom right and need to exit through the top left. And it kind of gives you an optimal path, but not necessarily. But before you actually hit start, it has a awesome little blurb at the bottom, just maybe 2 to 3 sentences about the person that's in the car. And it is so funny. I know you guys wrote down some of them. And it really kind of creates this world that not only is the gameplay hectic, but the town is hectic, and everything just piles on top of each other. It's really, really well handled.
There's so many plots and little character drips, and the whole tone is this like, Apple says it's late 60s. I was thinking early 70s, but like, there's people with great stashes and sideburns, and the whole thing has this like sun-dappled effect. And they have great little, almost Polaroid-y pictures of each car driver. The piece
I actually thought that was great, even from the very start of the game where you're in the menu. Like the menu is a little radio dial with the, wood panel and leather, fake leather. And what made me really laugh at this game getting an Apple Design Award is that the aesthetic of this game is so like skeuomorphic old Apple.
Oh,
Yes.
Yeah, that's funny.
And like it's not at all like Apple's current design scheme, but that retro thing really, really works. Did you guys find the little secret in the menu?
No.
There is a secret in the menu. The menu is like a radio, right? And you
Right.
swipe left and right to like tune between the different channels, which are the levels. Try tuning it in between the channels. That's all I'll say. Like try like adjusting the radio dial until you get it like right in between a couple of levels and just see what pops up. Make sure you have headphones on.
Yeah, I'll have
Yeah,
to give it a shot.
The developer said they had 1 billion Easter eggs in this, and some of them are in the story, but which is complicated. The one I wanted to like, sometimes there's like alphanumeric codes that you can translate, which as someone who does puzzles for fun, adored. But the flavor text that I wanted to include was from the first level, so it's the tutorial, so it's not too far in. Everyone thinks the man driving this car is Mr. Lee, but Mr. Lee is long gone. Lord knows who this man is, but he looks and talks like Mr. Lee, and that's good enough for most people. And then you drive Mr. Lee or fake Mr. Lee to his location.
And he shows up in basically every level that the man who pretends to be Mr. Lee does. And a lot of the characters reappear. And there's little stories if you pay attention. I haven't made it to the end of the game, but that's one of the things that keeps you coming back to a game is just a little bit of story coming out in little drops, and really cool stuff.
I will say that if you're going for a complete no spoilers on the plot, don't read the description from the Apple Design Award, because they give away one of the cool little culty things about the plot.
Yeah, one of my favorite ones, and I didn't write it down, so I'm sorry, I'm going to be paraphrasing it. Actually, I took a picture of it. I have it. Okay. School bus driver Miss Santiago thinks the best thing about the kids being loud is that no one can hear you cry.
Oh, poor Miss Santiago.
Yeah, I drove that school bus like I stole it.
You keep having to replay these levels so that you can get more time for later levels. So you get to really appreciate these poor people and like the account executive in advertising who hates his existence.
Yeah. Or the woman who is driving to work, but really just thinking about turning around and going home. Also, we didn't mention if you do mess up, you hit another car, hit a wall, not only does your car get really slow, but you do have the option to kind of start over with that car. It costs you 1 second, which doesn't feel like a lot in that moment. But if you start piling those up, you will find that you made it to the second level with not really enough time to make it much further. So you kind of have to find these optimal routes. And it might take you actually a couple playthroughs to get it, using up those seconds to kind of learn it and then coming back and playing like a real optimal route, which doesn't sound super exciting, but the gameplay is super fun. It's really fun to drive the cars, especially when it starts raining. Everything's slippery. Turn on turbo, try to make a hard right, and your car skids really well. There's all sorts of different types of cars. You're driving ambulances, buses, motorcycles, convertibles, everything.
Bulldozers.
Boats.
Boats. Yeah. If it's a vehicle, you probably drive it at some point. And it's fun. It's one of the games that we did for this. This was the most unlike anything that I'd ever played. I can't really draw any comparisons. Just that it was fun and it's totally worth it. And they have a pretty unique payment style or payment process for it.
They do. I thought that was one of the neatest things about the game. That I would not have really been been sure to pick up this game, but they let you play theoretically the entire game for free. And it's not ad-based or microtransactions or anything like that. You can play through as much of the game as you want. It just won't keep all your progress unless you buy the game. So I was able to play through, I think, 3 levels of the game, or at least into the 3rd level of the game. And I realized, I think I am going to really want to play this game. So I paid at that point, and I was able to continue from there. Even though I had actually put it away and come back to it later, it remembers what you've completed. But if you want to pick up from where you left off, you might need to buy the game. And it's like a $3 game, something like that.
It's $2.
So, yeah,
$2.
Yeah.
This game actually is my friend who has bought her first smartphone, has had it for 3 days. We were at dinner last night, and she was like, I have picked up this game. It's called Does Not Commute. Have you heard of it? So
wow.
I'm shocked. It must be getting some really good buzz from the Design Awards, which I'm super excited about, because when Shane brought it to our attention, it was just a freemium game that got a great review from the community, but it wasn't getting a ton of press.
Yeah.
So.
And, for what it's worth, I haven't bought it yet. I'm intending to. It's just I've been playing all these games. But I have played into the 3rd and 4th level 2 or 3 times now. And it's been fun every time. Even playing those first 2, now that I've played them a couple times, I'm just going at it like, how can I do it even better? So while buying it, I think, is the best way to experience it, getting to get deeper into the game. It's still fun just to pick it up and drive and see what routes you can take. And it's a fun game, regardless if you get deep into it.
If you get to level 4 or day 4, you actually can unlock a practice mode, which lets you trial run all your cars, which I think is, if you're going to go back and try to make up time, really important. I increased from 98 to 128 seconds, so it can make a huge difference. But it's those kind of hooks that make you want to pay and invest the time. I wouldn't have done that if I hadn't paid.
And as you get better at the game, you might decide you want to go back and look at your past levels and see how you completed them. And it has a little video mode where you can go back and watch a replay, and you can watch that replay following a particular car, or you can see the map as a whole, or you can do different things. So it is kind of fun when you've played through as each of these individual cars to see how all the cars swarm across the map all at once, kind of from that bird's eye view. It's really neat, and made me kind of think this game would work really well with another thing Apple announced this year, which is their Replay Kit, which is going to give games and other apps a way to basically record their screen, or I think hand their screen off to another app. So that might introduce things like streaming on Twitch or on the new YouTube Games channels to iPhone games, which might be cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I was imagining playing this game through AirPlay or something on a big screen and just seeing all the detail a little bit better and trying to control your car up on a big screen. I think it'd be a lot of fun.
It'd be wonderful. And getting the little bits of, there's a dose of story, and then you're worried about your car crashing, and then you get another dose. It's just a really addictive drip.
Yeah. I think of all of these games, if you're going to pick one up and want a really unique experience, I think this is the one to go for. I think Shadowmatic is cool. It's beautiful. Crossy Road is...
It's a gorgeous tech demo for what's possible on the iPhone graphically.
Crossy Road is fun and a great little one-handed game, but Does Not Commute fits into that kind of thing that we love to talk about. A really interesting mechanic, handled really well, that you can just pick up and play. You don't have to get crazy invested in it, but if you want to, there's a lot there's a lot there for you.
Next up is Vainglory, which I didn't play much of because it's a MMOBA, a massive multiplayer online battle arena, which is not my thing. But Apple adores this game. They've had it in commercials.
Didn't they announce demos. It in the app in the keynote last year?
Yeah, it showed up in a keynote. Apple it has the prettiest graphics, and it is, multiplayer, which is something that not all games can tout.
And it's a very popular genre.
Yeah,
it's not one that I think any of us are really into, but it's probably the most popular genre of games today.
Yeah, they're pimping it like they did Infinity Blade. So
Yeah.
Nate?
So I have
played it?
Yeah, I have played this game a little bit. Also, I probably have the most MOBA experience. I did get pretty deep into League of Legends for a short amount of time. I had some really good friends of mine that played that game obsessively, and I played it for a little while. I have some problems with that style of game. I really do appreciate a game that's I don't know, rewards skill more so than like your player getting more powerful or something like that. And I found League to have at the time, I hear it's a lot better now, but to have a pretty toxic community. And I love to play online games with other people. And when they're all going to be just like unhelpful, jerks, it kind of drew me away from the game. But I played this game and I was immediately impressed with how well it handled and looked on an iPhone 5S. And I saw right away, much like the other games, why it would be up for awards, specifically in design. I mean, it is impressive what you're playing on your iPhone. And also, it is virtually identical to League of Legends. I mean, down to the like, I know there's a lot of MOBAs out there, but that's one that I've played the most and is also, along with Dota, to be the most popular ones. I mean, it is like mechanically the same. You have a hero, you're going down your lanes left to right, and there are minions that you're running along with. And if you get the last hit on the minion, you get the gold. Your goal is to destroy the turrets and eventually destroy the final tower, along with the opposing team that has the same goal. If you kill the opposing champion, I think they call it in this one, maybe it's hero, you get a bonus amount of gold. And generally the team that gets the most hero or champion kills will have the most gold, which makes them the strongest, and they win. And I mean, they even have like jungling, which is straight out of League of Legends. I mean, there's like a lot of the terms are the same. The gameplay is essentially the same. But what was impressive is that it was on an iPhone, and it's 3 versus 3, all online, all on an iPhone, or I'm assuming iPad, but I was playing on an iPhone 5S, which I was definitely impressed by, because that's a lot going on there to have on your little screen, and that type of internet connection capabilities is really cool. I'm probably not going to play it a whole lot because I've also kind of drifted away from that style of game. But if you're looking for one to play on your iPhone, like, it's pretty cool. I was really impressed with it.
I think I'd be more likely to try it out on there than I would be to jump into League of Legends or something, because I have heard. It's strange to me. You said that the community around League of Legends is toxic. That is the only word I have heard used to describe the community around League of Legends.
Yeah,
I have to imagine that there's some kind of, I think of the Toxic Crusader or something.
Yeah. I've heard it.
I try to avoid garbage people in gaming. And
well, the thing with League is that I'm calling it League, is that it's 5 versus 5, and one bad player can screw the whole team.
Yeah.
You really need at least some modicum of ability to compete with your team and help win. And the games can be up to 45 minutes long. And if you have one bad player, you're basically making like a non-game for 9 other people.
Yeah.
And I get the frustration. I totally do. But it's like, it just drove me crazy. I mean, and it's not even voice. It was all type. And I would just have to mute everybody, and just it was frustrating, and it just wasn't really fun.
Is
This is why I
Vainglory more
wish-
friendly to newbies?
Well, it's all on your phone, and there's no way to communicate with your team, which we talked a lot about in the Hearthstone game, Hearthstone podcast. That makes it inherently more newbie friendly if the communication with your teammates and the other opponent is not there. You won't have people screaming at you or whatever. Like, it makes it, the anonymity of it makes it inherently more newbie friendly. And I would imagine that the community isn't there yet for Vainglory, whereas League has been going for a long time and is like becoming a monster esport. I also had this really weird thing with League that was really frustrating. Is there was this kind of like known issue where sometimes you would start a game and your mouse wouldn't be able to click, and you had to restart the game and get back into it. And the first like 5 minutes of a game is arguably one of the most important parts of the game. It's kind of like whoever gets the first kill or two can swing the entire battle. And so I would constantly have to come in like 2 minutes late into a game because and that was at best. I'd have to restart my entire game, and you would be banned for leaving games. And so I would get like 1 and 2 week bans for this issue where I would be kicked out of the game, and I would write all these emails to the League of Legends support like, hey, I want to play. I'm not, because they would ban you because they thought you were like griefing, which again, leaving would really screw the team. I was like, no, I want to play. I want to do this game. The issue that is happening to a lot of people is what's making me leave. And it all culminated. I got like a 3-month ban all from this one like bug. And it's just like, okay, this game is not worth it to me. I don't care, But I think I like the style. Like I think I like a
Nate.
MOBA,
that's why I think you need to try Helldivers. Me and Reagan did an episode on Helldivers, and it's a game where it's not exactly it's not a MOBA, but it has some things in common. But it's a game where one of the big things we talked about is how that game gets the incentives right to create good experiences between you and other people. And I think that's when you talk about multiplayer gaming, that's really key to it. You have to have a system set up that even if it is pitting people against each other, they have to all be there to play and have a good time. And you can incentivize that.
Well, and
I don't know. These games sound like
I've heard they've done like this was a couple years ago, and I've heard they've added a lot of incentive to League for like recommending like this player was super great and helpful, and like there's awards now, and like you can get you can get dinged for being a negative person, and it actually affects like your score. So like I know that they know that, and they're trying to make it better. So my opinion is an older opinion. So if anyone's listening to this episode and they're like, I love League, it's so much better. Like I get it. It's just like that experience is what made me stop.
Yeah, I'd like to hear from those people. So if you're out there and you want to tell me why League of Legends is awesome, I want to hear about it. Tweet me. I'm at 8bit Shane.
Yeah, or why we should really give Vainglory a big try, because I've been staying away from MOBAs mostly because of the community. So if this one doesn't have people talking at you, maybe it's a better place for me to start.
Yeah, I've only really avoided them just because I have to be, at this point, with the podcast and with my other games I love to play, like selective in what like genre I dive deep into. And that's the only reason that I haven't even picked up Helldivers, is because it sounds awesome. And I know that if I like really start playing it, it's like all I'm going to want to play. So I thought it was kind of best to hold out for now. But let's move on. There were 2 student games that were nominated. Now, I didn't play either of these, but Laura, I know you did.
Yeah, I can give a quick overview. So there's Elementary Minute, which is a buck by Clemens Strasser. It's a quiz game. So you have a minute to answer as many questions. There's a lot of different modes. You can swipe up to say yes or true, and swipe down to say false, and that's it.
So it's like really opposite Tinder for trivia?
Yeah, it's vertical Tinder for trivia. Yeah, it's. I think it won because he made it work on the watch.
Oh yeah,
it's simple.
That's a good idea.
Easy, great idea, slick. I mean, I played a ton of a game called The Grading Game, which is proofreading papers. So I like games that like me to be smart. The bug reports are really fun because he often says if he got trivia incorrect. Like one of them says like, I claimed Beyonce was a member of Depeche Mode. That's not true.
Nice.
But, I mean, a lot of the questions in the famous people are like, who directed what movie, or, about presidents. So I probably want a little bit richer trivia. My favorite trivia game is Cat Movie. Or I'm trying to remember that's not the name, but it's movie-based trivia with cats.
Nice.
But it's for a minute trivia game, it's really great. I probably will break it out at the next time I have a team meeting and I'm trying to amuse my coworkers.
And that's really what we're all just trying to do, right?
That's the point of this podcast. And the last is called Jumpo, which is this puzzle game where you tilt to move left and right and tap to jump as many times as you want. It's all hand drawn, or it looks hand drawn, like pen and ink. Just kind of like Tamagotchis. There's just the two shades.
Oh, you got me. I'm
In the game?
a huge Tamagotchi fan. All right, I'm in.
I mean, there's no pets. I'm just saying, art style wise, it has the little pen and ink Tamagotchi color. And
I
there's
can't wait
spikes
till they
and
bring out
bullets.
Tamagotchi for the Apple Watch. Then I'll buy one.
Oh, absolutely.
Wow, that's a great call. I can't believe that doesn't exist. Let's shut down the podcast. I'm going to edit that part out, and we're gonna make Tamawachi.
Oh, so much better than half.
Yes.
Tamagotchi, wonderful. No one will sue us.
No.
But Jumpo by Byte Brushers it's fun. I didn't play a ton of it. I think the level design is good, a little bit repetitive, but I think that the jump mechanics and the physics engine they're using is really strong. So they keep polishing the level design. I think they could do wonderful things in the future.
Yeah, it's nice to see Apple highlighting kind of student projects like that. So good luck to those guys. The more developers, the better.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Well, cool. Did you guys have anything else you wanted to talk about?
Free version of Threes came out.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Throwback to last year's ADA.
Yeah.
And if you go in person to a Starbucks, you can get Monument Valley free for a month.
Nice. Also
All right.
worth it.
Also
Guys,
worth it.
iPhone games, they may not be the deepest all the time, but sometimes they are the... you know what they say about cameras? It's the camera that you have with you that's the best one. Sometimes I think it's the gaming console that you have with you that is the best one.
I'll give a shout out for a game that's not going to win any design awards, but the maker of 10 Million just put out You Must Build a Boat, which is adding more role playing and more level design and more of everything to that game. So if you liked that at all, I've already beat it. That's how.
Oh, what? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to go download that right now.
It's wonderful. So go download You Must Build a Boat if you even looked at that game and wanted to play.
That's a great name.
Oh, it's so good.
I'm sold just on the name alone. That's fantastic.
The original one, 10 Million, he said in some... I can't remember where I read that he said that. I was a big fan of 10 Million. And he said that his biggest regret about that one was that he made a game with a title that was impossible to Google. So I think
there you go.
he solved that problem.
That's awesome.
I think he learned his lesson. Any other iOS games you want to call out before we wrap up?
Nope. Just going to go play You Must Build a Boat.
Oh,
Yep.
Everyone go play You Must Build a Boat. And the other games that won Apple Design Awards.
Yeah, but I already played those.
Yeah, but you already played those games.
Everybody out there, you listeners, if I had to pick one of these games for you to play, it would be...
Does not commute.
Yeah, does not commute.
Nate?
Yeah. I think Does Not Commute is the most interesting experience. I will say that, again, I've played a ton of Crossy Road, but that was in my never-ending quest to destroy Reagan Kelly. So there's
Which
that
is an
too.
honorable quest.
Yep.
Reagan, if you're out there, suck it.
Well, since Reagan isn't here to say I've been your host, I'm Laura, and I've been one of the co-hosts of this episode. You can find me on Twitter at Laura J. Nash. Shane, where can people find you?
I'm at 8-Bit Shane.
And Nate?
At Nate STL.
Okay, you can follow the show on Twitter at _shortgame. You can also find the full feed on iTunes. Rate us and leave a review if you don't mind. You can also find our website at www.theshortgame.net. Until next week.
Hey, actually,
Thanks,
Shane, are you still doing D&D character sheets for people who leave us
Oh,
reviews?
yes.
I am one sheet behind. Yes, I did not realize how long it would take me to create these elaborately crafted Dungeons and Dragons character sheets. But the offer still stands. If you review the show in iTunes and you tweet or send us a photo of your review, a screenshot, and I will, and maybe tell me a little bit about yourself. Like if you feel like, you know, your spirit animal is a barbarian or a warlock, we will I will create you a Dungeons and Dragons characters sheet. This is just my service to the world as a dungeon master.
Yeah, the short game, we are not above bribing.
Nope.
Yeah, and we're not a Dungeons and Dragons podcast yet.
Nope. Not yet. Well, we'll make our Fallout 4 Dungeons and Dragons podcast coming this fall.
From the Short Game Network.
Yeah. All right.
The short game. The next episode will not be about Bethesda or Dungeons and Dragons.
All right.
We think.
We think.
All right.
Take it easy, y'all.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.